Ladies and gherkins, Andy here, Cam here as well, and we're going to tell the story of our breakup. You and I were madly, passionately in love a few years ago. We weren't really, but you were a coaching client of mine, and I had taken you out in person. I'd taught you, or I'd pushed you to talk to some women. You'd had a fair bit of success, and you had my phone number or my Telegram, and we went through this period where,
Andy, I think,
which any business owner will tell you is fucking insane, giving away your private contact details and leaving yourself open. But this was early on in the business, and I was still working things out and all of that, and it wasn't as serious or professional as it is now. But we got into a situation, and maybe I'll let you take over from this point, where you had been going through some relationship troubles with a girl that, you guys were just friends, but you had strong feelings for her, and you're basically going through a rough time, and you texted me a lot. And it was sort of this breakup is more a story of, and there's redemption at the end of it. It's more a story of like caution, like boundaries and how to keep things professional, and maybe some things that a client could do. Like there were some things that you said you could do better. There were definitely things that I, as the coach, could have done better. So we're going to walk you guys through this tale. But do you want to sort of take over where your headspace was at that point? Maybe what happened and the message that I sent you, basically saying, I'm breaking up with you, bitch.
Yeah. Bitch. The bitch was the bit that hurt the most, actually, to be honest. Just
I didn't say that. I'm nice.
Yeah. Using naughty language always is the bit that always hurts. It's like the swearing and the naughty language, because Jesus is crying when that happens. So I believe I was your first ever in-person client, like in terms of like actual like paid client, and I think I was like in your first like 5 or 10 like overall clients as well, potentially.
You were like the third or fourth client that I ever worked with.
Yeah, very, very early on. And I would say like the difference between your coaching then and your coaching now is ridiculous. Like the amount of growth and like, what
the difference is? $9,000, motherfucker.
Yeah, man. That
technically if we're talking one-on-one, the difference is $100,000, motherfucker.
So pretty much. Like you only charge like, I think you charge me like 200 Aussie, which is like nothing. Like that's what, 150 US or something like that for like what was about 4 hours of coaching in person. Crazy. And overarching everything when I came to you was that I had a bad heartbreak moment where a girl I'd been seeing like dumped me out of nowhere, and I was like madly in love with her, like in like that kind of like fresh like newbie way where guys fall too hard for girls who aren't good for them. And that was one of the main drivers to come and see you and like sort my dating life out. That had always been like one of my biggest things that sparked insecurity, and like the questions I would have for myself when when I'm approaching and stuff, like am I even worth like loving, or like a girl seeing me because of this situation? And we had like a couple of weeks in person. It was amazing. There's a video of us explaining how that went, I think like a while ago in my interview with you. Long story short, I did a ton of approaches and had sex with 2 girls inside my first 7 approaches, which is crazy good. It was fun. And then, so from my recollection, you had said it was okay to message you if I was struggling to approach. So there was some like acquiescence on your side that I could like, hit you up. Like if you're struggling to approach, hit me up and I'll give you like intense like feedback. Like I was like in the moment, I'll like help gear you up. But I think that was intended to only be while I was there in Melbourne. That was like the idea, like between our coaching sessions. But I didn't take the hint necessarily and just basically believe that I could just like message you whenever I wanted or whenever I was having like a bad moment. And from my perspective, this was like, crossing like a boundary when it came to like how much I was messaging you. Like every single time I was out approaching, it was like, I can't do it. I got to message Andy. And you were becoming like a serious crutch. And like was just the volume of messages was probably, from your perspective, pretty bad. Then I left Melbourne and I went back to Sydney where I was living more permanently. And I started going out again. And one day, which was a Sunday, there's a big party that happens every Sunday where I used to go out. And let's just say I was not sober at the moment we're going to be talking about, very, very not sober. And I got a text from that girl who had broken my heart, my ex, we'll refer to her as my ex. And she hadn't spoken to me in like 4 months or something like that. It'd been like she told me she didn't want to speak to me anymore. Like in like I can't like deal with this. I don't want to, we should not talk to each other. And yeah, she just texted me out of the blue, and I had like a bad reaction to this, and I sent you a message being like, I don't know what to do. Like why is she messaging? You know what I mean? Like in a trauma, not traumatized, wrong word, in a shocked kind of don't know how to handle this situation kind of way. And then I guess, what's your perspective? Because yeah, I was just kind of in panic mode, focused on the message, but you were focused on a very, very annoying client who wouldn't stop talking to you.
Yeah, it was a very emotional text. It was a very, and we've talked about this before, not you personally, but often when we have a problem, we can just sort of dump it on someone else rather than sharing the problem and saying, hey, I'd like to solve this, would you mind helping me? And so the difference there is helplessness. The text was very helpless. It was like, help, this is your problem to deal with. I'm just going to dump this on you, rather than, man, hey, I just wouldn't, if you wouldn't mind, can I just like bounce this off you? I'm okay, but I think I'd feel better if I could bounce this off you. And we see that every now and then with coaching clients, not too often because we screen pretty well. And I think we teach you guys how to be vulnerable while still retaining masculinity and that like sense of everything's okay. But every now and then we'll see someone that just sort of goes like, there's someone, recently, here's the problem, I'm dumping it in the group. Like, there you go. And it's like, well, you're sort of making that our problem to fix. You're not taking that first step to solve it. And so the text very much came across like that. It's like, Andy, this is your fucking problem to deal with. Like, I'm not paying you at the moment. Like, fuck you, deal with this problem. And there was a sense from my end that, yeah, it had been building for a while. And I had the conversation with Imogen quite a few times of like, man, I think I should stop letting clients message me. Like, they really shouldn't be messaging me. Because at the start, when you're building a business, you think like, I want to be there for my clients. I want to help them. I genuinely care about them. And so, I want them to be able to message me if they need to. What you find though is, I don't think there'd be an exception to this. Every single business owner I've ever heard say this, or entrepreneur, when they talk about this, they say like, no, you don't give private fucking contact access like 24 hours a day to clients, because they will just dump fucking problems onto you. And you weren't the first, by the way, or you might have been the first, but like, I don't think you were the first. I can think of someone else actually that was. I'd had a few clients that had sort of just done exactly that. They were like, I'm currently fucking crying, or I'm depressed or whatever. It's 11 p.m. at night. Please help me. Like, I'm just dumping the shit on you. I don't care that you're ready to go to bed. I don't care that you're stressed. I don't care that you're struggling to pay the bills. I don't care about any of that, obviously, because the person's in pain. And so it's not about them. It's not that you, Cam, did anything wrong, or the previous client did anything wrong. It's your job as the coach or the business owner or the man in a relationship, maybe where you're taking the lead and you're with a girl that's like more submissive, or maybe you're the older person. When you're in that position of, it's not authority, but that position of care, the kindest thing you can ever do for the other person is to have boundaries. Like, this isn't just a conversation about like, oh, Andy had to learn how to have boundaries. It's like, no, like the boundaries are also there for your client, because they can't feel safe. And you and I had this conversation afterwards when we patched things up. So to jump to the end of the story, I ended up saying like, dude, like, we can't go any further. Like, I can't be your coach anymore. This is just like too much. I'm sorry, man. Like, I can't deal with this for like, the small amount of money, because it was a small amount of money at the time. It's like, this doesn't pay the bills. I can't put up with this. I'm going to go to the clients that are less work. We patched things up later. And one of the conversations that we had was, you can't feel safe if I don't have strong boundaries. Because you think, well, 1 minute I can text you, and then the next minute I can't. How the fuck am I like, you're just moving the goalposts. You're changing the rules on me constantly. I don't know what the fucking rules are. And so one of the kindest things that we can ever do for other people is have fucking boundaries.
Yeah, it was very, there was another aspect of this as well, where like, so I paid you some more money towards a product that you were doing. And it was a case of, you ended up, like, I'll refund you, like, because I want to.
I remember,
which is a good way of doing it as well. If you ever have, anyone's got a business, if you have difficult clients you don't want to deal with anymore, it's almost worth giving them like a full refund just to get them off your table.
Yeah.
Like, it's better to lose all the money that they were going to pay you, or they had paid you, just to get rid of the issue of having that client, because you can go and find 5 more that aren't difficult, for example, you know what I mean? That's also not to say that me and Andy are running away from clients who have difficult problems. It's just that it's how you act as a client and how you act as like how much responsibility you take for your problems and stuff like that. So I want to make that clear. The issue I had as well was that we had agreed like a package deal or something, and then I was like this is what you said on the. I wanted to basically be like, it was like a protege package. I can't remember what you called it. It was like basically that you were trying to sell full access to yourself on the basis that like, you pay me more money. And I was like, okay, I can pay you more money. And it was like, that's not really the issue right now. But like from my perspective as a client, it is an issue to like, be denied a product or something like that. But like, I've grown up a little bit since then. I think it's very like setting expectations for clients is very important. We live in a very interesting time on YouTube, just specifically, where people are using the word scam very, 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 very liberally. And like basically businesses that like don't meet their expectations get branded as scam almost, and like people need to be like a bit more careful about that, because like people are calling things scams that aren't scams because they believe they're being marketed something that they're not getting. And it's like, as a business owner, you can get around that by having very strict set boundaries that you explain to your clients. And even if you can explain it to them before they pay, that's even better. It's like similar to screening with dating, where you like explain to the girl what they're getting into. I think as business owners, we get a little bit like worried that like someone who isn't going to do that will get the business and we won't, though. I think there is that concern. But yeah, the more boundaries, like don't be afraid to set boundaries with clients. I've learned this now personally as well, as someone who does coach and also has my own coaching business in a different aspect. Like I've got to limit, DM access and stuff like that where I can, and give guys the expectations of how to contact me, for example. I would say I felt like it was like kind of like annoying, like I guess emotionally or whatever, like kind of difficult, that one, because it was, I've just had this amazing like 2 weeks with Andy, like sorting out like issues that I've always had, like insecurities, inability to get girls. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, I'm dropping you as a client. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, from my perspective, it was, difficult to deal with for like a week, but also brought me to a realization of like, I can't be reliant on a coach. That was another one.
Yeah.
Like that was a huge one for you to realize as well. Like you can't make yourself like.
I can't babysit clients.
Yeah, you were like, I can't hold your hand forever, I think is what you said. Like before we ended up getting into the argument or whatever, into the the breakup. It was a case of you realizing that you can't make yourself like structurally necessary to someone's life. Like that's like putting too much into someone.
It's not kind to them or me.
No. And any coach out there who watches this is like, you can't make them relying on you forever. Like that's not your job. Like that's not coaching. That's I don't know what the word is for it, but like, it's not coaching if they need you forever. Think of yourself as like a driving instructor, like you're trying to get them to pass the test and then go off and drive on their own.
You want them to no longer need you. Yeah, I used to think, and a lot of business owners, especially coaches or psychologists, or like psychologists get it because they're trained with this shit, but a lot of coaches think if I can give more of myself, like more access to me, to my clients, then I'm giving them more value. That is true to a certain point, and then it starts to fucking nosedive. So for instance, if your clients can only contact you once a year, when you say, hey, actually, you know what, you can send me an email once every 6 months. Yeah, that is like literally better. That you're going to be able to help them more. But there is diminishing returns, and you get to a point where it's like, okay, if you could access me every single fucking day and I don't have a single day that I'm not available, I think that's way too far. I don't think you're helping your client at that point. And I see a lot of coaches that just push like, hey, you get daily access to me. If you're going to do that, it's got to be in the case of like what we have, where it's like a Facebook group that I, Andy, and you can go in when we fucking feel like it. And so you post your questions in the group. And if I wake up and it's 6 a.m. and I don't feel like checking the fucking messages until 3 p.m., then you wait till 3 p.m. And all of our coaching clients get that. But I wouldn't do something that I see a lot of coaches do and that I did in the early days, like with you and a couple of others, where you let them have access to your fucking private, like Facebook message or your WhatsApp or your Telegram. And if you are going to do that, which I think is fucking stupid, but if you are going to do that, don't fucking reply immediately. Mute their notifications so the notifications don't even fucking show up. Don't have any vibration or anything like that. Like literally it doesn't show up in your phone. You have to go into the app to actually see if they have messaged you, and you only do that. I wouldn't recommend every day, but if you're going to be insane and do it every day, that's what I would recommend. And so this really was a learning experience. Me realizing, oh fuck, I can't just give unfettered access to my fucking because you're basically, saying I never get to leave work at home. And the moment where you and I did end things or have our little breakup, I was in a shopping mall with my girlfriend. It was our one day off in the week, and there were quite a few messages that had come through that day. And I do remember sitting there with her and just going like, there's never a fucking time that I can get away from work. Like, and it felt almost like, or I took it as, because I didn't have boundaries, I took it as an invasion. Not that you had particularly done it. It wasn't you. It was just like my clients are invading me. And if I don't put my foot down right now and say, no, enough is enough, then I'm never going to respect myself. And then why the fuck should anybody else respect me if I don't respect myself? So this shit is it's more about your healthy boundaries as a coach. And obviously you're doing it for your clients as well. But to circle back, it's not helpful to give that level of access to yourself to your clients. Something that one of my favorite mentors, Dan Henry, says is, there is a limit to how much you can make yourself available, because at some point you're just babying your clients, and your mission is to turn them into fully functional, happy, well-adjusted adults. They're already adults, but you get what I mean. Not to turn them into fucking babies who need mommy and daddy every 5 seconds and can't make a decision on their own. You almost need a little bit of, it's not suffering, but you almost need to have your clients sit there by themselves and have to go through some tough shit and have to feel a bit depressed and have to cry by themselves, and not have you just immediately go, oh, honey bunny, I can make it better for you. It's like, no, motherfucker, I had to sit there for 2 hours and then jerk off to porn and then drink too much and, watch Netflix and feel sorry for myself and cry and get all that shit out of my system and then figure out how to fix the fucking problem by myself. And so if you're just there 24 hours a day and you never let your clients go through any hardship because you're scared of them going through hardship, because you've put it in your head that you're some Jesus Christ Messiah who has to just protect them at all costs, and I want them to be happy. And it comes from a good place. It comes from a beautiful place, but it's like parenting at that point. You're basically being an overprotective helicopter fucking parent, and that is not good for the kid. We get that in a parental sense, but sometimes as a coach, we don't understand that shit applies to coaching too.
Yeah, and you and me are very big on the when guys ask us for like, what do I do? We're very big on get out there, get in the situation, and
we'll figure it out.
You're going to figure it out, because we'd rather you do like volume and experience exposure rather than like give you like a breakdown of everything you have to do. And if you deviate at one point, you've done it wrong. Like it's kind of like that. And then we gently push them in the direction we think is optimal.
It's why we teach people philosophies, dude. Like for anyone who's never been in our coaching program, 95% of the conversations we have and what we post and the videos we do and like the group calls is teaching you philosophies. It's not teaching you what to think. It's teaching you how to think. In other words, we don't tell you what to do. We teach you how to think of what I can do. And so we're never going to sit there. I mean, sometimes we give answers, but man, like the vast majority of questions, people will say like, do you think that I should take 4 messages before I ask her out or 5? We're not going to sit there and be like, whoa, it needs to be 4. Because like you're then going to just fucking become needy and need us for every single thing. You said it earlier, but our mission with the coaching is to make you not need us anymore. And so we're going to teach you, you zoom out a little bit, take a step back. It probably doesn't matter if you message 3 or 4 or 5 times, but what we want you to do is give yourself permission to suck. That's a philosophy. Give yourself permission to suck. The second thing we want to teach you is this is all just a fucking game. Life is an experiment. So try messaging 3 times, try messaging 4 times, try messaging 5 times, and see what works for you. That's another philosophy. Find out what works for you. This is about you. It's got nothing to do with Camp Now, because we don't live your life. We're not going to follow you around for the rest of your life. And you're right. I see a lot of coaches, and again, they have good intentions. They have beautiful intentions, but they baby their clients. And so then their clients, you said it before, you use the word unethical. Maybe I wouldn't be that harsh, but I understand why you say that. When a coach makes you need them, you said like that's probably not fully ethical. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, there's going to be exceptions. Like in sport, you want a coach to keep your conditioning
Sure,
and you're letting
sure.
yourself sharp, that kind of thing. But like the idea that like you would need like a dating coach forever, or you would need a business coach forever. Like at some point, you have to actually figure out what the hell. Like you have to reach a point of success where you don't need them anymore. Is very typical, and I don't know. Like there are probably coaches out there who have ongoing membership programs that maybe have clients who've been in there for like a long time, and it's like, well, I'm sure they're getting value out of it, and maybe they kind of view you more as entertainment now than actually like an actual coach, which is kind of a problem in its own right. But yeah, I think what you realized. So there's two things that you did when it came to your products. It was raising prices. Obviously, that brings you a more serious client. But you also limited to 3 months. You limited basically every coaching client from now on is limited. I know your one-on-one is actually 6 months, I believe, isn't it? But
Yeah.
you have a time limit on like how long they're going to be in the program. So it's a case of it makes them more serious that they know they have a
Yeah.
certain limited amount of time to get what they need. That is better. It's better if you do a more intensive course where you know how much time you have to actually figure the stuff out you want to figure out and hit your goals. It makes you a lot more serious. If you have a coach who's like, don't worry, I'll be with you for the next 5 years. You pay me monthly. I'll be here. You're not going to take it as seriously as someone like, you've got me for 3 months. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is. I saw a really good short the other day about a guy that was like, he was calling up, like he was trying to learn, he was doing psychology, and he was like, he called up a psychologist and was like, I want to learn from you. I'll pay you like double your salary for like a week or something like that. And she was like, okay, do you want a week? He's like, no, I want 1 day. I want 1 day, but you're going to prepare that day and we're going to make it like as concise and as good as we possibly can. And that's kind of like what your coaching is. It's more, not 1 day, obviously it's 3 months, but it's like, we're going to take this super seriously. I'm going to get all of your focus for 3 months. We're going to like run you as hard as we can. And that has a much better impact than if you were like dragging this out for 2 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's condensing that shit for sure. Yeah. I think on another point, another learning lesson that I learned from this whole experience of our breakup was, obviously I could have had much stronger boundaries and been more honest and upfront about enforcing them, but I didn't know. Like, I didn't know. You didn't know. We were two people that just sort of came to a point where we're like, oh shit, like this is messy. Now we're going to learn a lesson together. And it's okay to be messy and shit at coaching or any goal really at the start. Like often you don't know your boundaries until you break them. The same thing applies with dating. You will maybe go on a date with someone, you have sex with someone, you date someone, and then halfway through you're like, do you know what? Maybe I don't like it when they slap me. Maybe I don't like it when they tell me that I'm a piece of shit in front of my friends. Like maybe this behavior that they're doing is insane and I'm going to break up with them. Don't beat yourself up for putting up with it for a little while. You didn't know that it was a boundary until you went through it a little bit and you're like, wow, this is kind of fucked. Maybe I don't want to put up with this anymore. I wouldn't retroactively look back and say, I should have known. I should have known that they were no good. I should have known that I deserved better. It's like, but you didn't know. How could you have known what you didn't know? And so the same thing here. It's like, you didn't know any better. I was figuring things out as I went along. If you are in a position where you're early in your business, yeah, you're going to make some, I don't even call them mistakes, because it's like a mistake implies that you should have known better. And it's like, no, well, how the fuck was I supposed to know better? So it's more like a stumble. And this was definitely my biggest stumble. I think I had like two other ones. No, I've had plenty of stumbles. So what am I talking about? But this was one of the earliest, biggest stumbles where it was just like, even afterwards, I remember having the conversation with Imogen after I sent you the text saying that, hey, I'm going to refund you. I don't think we go any further. I need some space. I remember having big conversations with her going like, fuck, I think I could have handled that way nicer. And she was the one who was like, honey, you did the best you could. Like, you're not perfect. Cam wasn't perfect. I think you were pretty nice in the message, because I ran the message by her quite a few times before I sent it. And she was like, you rewrote that message like 5 fucking times. It was really nice. It was the best you could have done. Cam doesn't seem that pissed. He seems mildly pissed and very hurt, but like, I think he'll be okay. It's kind of a learning process.
Yeah.
Life is too. Relationships are, friendships are. And this is a friendship, obviously.
Yeah, I think part of why I was pissed off is I didn't want it to ruin the experience of coming to Melbourne in the first place. You know, when I like, oh, I'm going to look back on this in 5 years, when like I had this crazy experience and then 2 weeks later it was like over. You know, it's like one of those like, it was. I don't want it to tarnish what was a fucking crazy 2 weeks of my life. You know. But it all
And
worked out in the end.
on that note, you know how we often sit there and we feel like we're having a heartbreak and we're like, God damn it, like this isn't how this was supposed to go. One of my favorite exercises I do with clients, I do it with myself, is like hit the pause button and say, wait, do I know what's going to happen a year from now? Do I know what's going to happen 5 years from now? I'm sitting here in this moment saying, this is not part of the plan. This is the worst thing that could happen. It's like, well, we need to fast forward a couple of years and then look back and say, was that a bad moment or a good moment? And so, I would say, at least from my point of view, dude, that was one of the best things that could have happened for my business. That was definitely one of the best things that could have happened for our friendship. I think the communication we had to have to patch that up made us a lot closer. And so, yeah, at the time, I was thinking the same things as you. I was like, this is not how my coaching is supposed to go. Like, this is ruined. This is bad. Like, I hate this, blah, blah, blah. And then you fast forward a couple of months and it's like, what the fuck was I talking about? I was so arrogant to say, and it's not arrogance, it's naive. I was so naive to think that that was like bad and the worst thing that happened. But often these events turn out to be the best goddamn things that could have ever fucking happened to us. Well, I don't know if that's an arrogant statement too, but they turn out to be fucking wonderful. So it definitely felt like a healing moment, I think, for both of us. We weren't friends before. We were just coaching, coach and client. And I think after that, and certainly in the months and the years since then, because this is, like 3 years ago? We've grown closer since then.
Fuck.
Obviously good friends now. It's been a while.
2019 is 4 years ago. It's 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. Huh? Yeah.
Getting fucking old, mate. What's going on here?
No, you're right, because it was before lockdowns, wasn't it? It was before all the 2020 shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that. That's why I was pissed off about. Obviously, everyone was pissed off about COVID, but like I had my whole like 2 years of dating focus. Let's go. And then like literally after my first year ended, like it was like in my first year that COVID happened. I was like, for fuck's sake. But I see a lot of guys
and like
you
but
there was tons of guys who tried to start the AA program during lockdowns, and I was like, you guys are mad. Like I appreciate this. Like that is like Manga is a good example of this. And Toast. They were doing high
and one
five.
of my clients, Roger.
Yeah.
He was like cold approaching chicks with a mask, and he was like social distancing and shit, and he was like waving at them, and like he said, bro, like half of these go
during
March.
Fuck.
Yep.
Man.
He stuck to all fucking laws before the fucking lawmakers come after him and all that shit. But yeah, no, I fucking respected that. It was a crazy time. Do you know what else it was a crazy time to do?
Start a business. Yeah.
Build a business based on dating and sex during lockdowns. Yeah, that was a fucking crazy time. I was like 1 or 6 months or a year into the business. Lockdowns happened. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
I remember telling you like, oh, the forum's not going to really take off until COVID's over, because we were just like, no one was doing any like approaching for like the first year we set the forum up, and now most of the forum is like guys being like, I've approached, I did the AA program, all this shit. But people forget that when we first started the forum, no one was really doing any approaching at all. And it took like those guys who did the AA program during COVID to really break through and like start bringing approaching to the forum. That was weird. Yeah, we were all just like, oh, we're doing online dating, and they're coming straight to our apartments. And it's like, this is fun, I guess.
everybody who approached, I want to make it really clear and underline this. This is the perfect example of not waiting until the right time. Me working on my coaching business. Again, sex and dating business during COVID. And look at all that I built during COVID. Like, I went from, I don't even know what I was earning, like less than $1,000. It was like $500 a month to, at this point, like 45 grand a month. And most of that happened, the vast majority of that happened during fucking COVID. So please don't anyone sit there and say, now's not the right time. If you look up historical records and read about it, you'll see that there were a metric fuck ton of millionaires made during the Great Depression. During the time when everyone's like, oh my God, I'm killing myself. I'm like, we can't live. We're poverty, blah, blah, blah. People found ways to become millionaires. If you look at during the COVID times, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and then just a bunch of other cunts, like doubled or tripled their income, like their net worth, sorry. So they went from like, I think Elon Musk went from something crazy like 60 billion to like 180 or something during lockdowns. Jeff Bezos, same shit. So don't let anybody tell you, more to the point, don't tell yourself that like, now's not the right time. I should do this at a better time. And what a beautiful segue this is into our coaching program. If you are one of the people that has been sitting there saying, now's not the right time, I'm going to do it when it's a better time, understand the price of the coaching is going up basically every fucking week. I just put it up to $9,000. I'm about to put it up to $10,000. And I've had 3 people now sign up and pay in full because they've said, now isn't the right time, but I'm not going to be a little bitch and use that as an excuse. I'm going to pay you in full so that I lock in the price. You said that you're constantly putting up the price. Can I have it at the current price? And I will join in like 6 weeks. Or one guy's like joining in like 3 months, but he's like, here's the fucking money. Because I believe you. I've seen you put the fucking price up. Please don't do it. So I respect the shit out of those guys. If you don't have the full money for the coaching program, you can even just lock in a payment plan. We take a $1,000 upfront payment, and then we require at least $500 a month payment off from that. But you can lock that in right now, and don't sit there and wait for the right time, because there is no right fucking time. Same with dating. If it's going outside and talking to women, there's no fucking right time. Even during COVID is like good enough.
And if you accidentally broke it off with a friend that you regret breaking it off with, it's the right time to send that message where you tell them that it was a mistake.
Now is the right time. And even if it's not the right time, it's the right fucking time. And hey, let's go a little deeper on this. Don't just make this a coaching pitch and a reach out to your old coaching clients pitch. But if there are family members or something that you haven't been in contact with and you're sort of waiting to patch things up and you want to patch things up, but you're sort of sitting there going like, maybe later, maybe another time. Or maybe you've been wanting to move out of your house. Maybe you've been wanting to go and talk to that cute girl that you've had your eye on for a while. Don't sit there and think there's some fucking perfect time, because there isn't. The perfect time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second most perfect time is right this second. So go out there, plant that fucking tree, take that goddamn action, and crush those goals.